Every time you see the photographer in the studio, you anticipate the photographs that will surely follow after the session. However, do you ever really get to know the photographer behind the camera? Her detailed newborn shots and love-inspired wedding photography has clients returning year after year. This is the story of Clarissa Macgregor-Mitchell of Clarissa Marie Photography.
I always loved taking pictures. I was always that girl who I have boxes and boxes of negatives and actual pictures from when I was in high school.
She opened Clarissa Marie Photography in 2011. Business was going well. Clients like Stephanie Gabriel noticed her work at the time her daughter was born and decided to ask for some studio time.
I knew how wonderful her work was, so I approached her and asked if she would do our newborn photos for my daughter, and she did them, and I haven't gotten rid of her since. I just can't get enough of her photography. It's so wonderful.
While all was going well in her professional life, a darkness was starting to grow behind the scenes, one that surprised and shocked Clarissa.
The end of a marriage is never an easy thing. And I could say it was most likely, more so the end of an era. High school sweethearts, almost 17 years of being together and 20 years of being friends, 10 years of marriage and 3 children.
Things began to spiral. The difficulties of going back to work proved to be a bit of a struggle. Even though she tried, she encountered an infection that hospitalized her for days. She faced problem after problem, emotion after emotion.
I decided to finally wake up and stop just going through the motions of my life and actually want to start living. I didn't want to just be surviving every day.
She decided on a whim that she was going on a solo trip. It was a big commitment. She had never traveled solo before. Unfortunately, like clockwork, another event happened and her basement flooded just 5 days before she was scheduled to leave.
I lost almost all of my props. My whole studio was destroyed, along with half my house stuff that was in my basement. And I cared, I definitely cared, but at the same time I was not going to miss going on this road trip. So we cleaned the studio up in those 5 days.
She packed a bed in the back seat of her van, dropped her kids off at her mother's, put a camera around her neck, and hit the road.
I didn't plan a single thing except for the first day where I was going to go to Kingston. And from there, I talked to locals along the way, asking where the best places to take pictures were. I slept in my van some nights. I never really stayed in a conventional mainstream hotel. I wasn't out there for fancy places to sleep. I was out there for experience. And it was one of the most incredible things of my entire life.
She traveled for weeks along the Canadian East Coast, stopping wherever she felt like it to immerse herself in nature. She wanted to figure out exactly who she was and, more importantly, who she wanted to become.
On a beach in Prince Edward Island, when the tide was out, I went out and it looks like all these tiny little pebbles, like millions of them. And I was photographing the bigger picture, and then I started to look down and look at the littler things, and all of these pebbles were actually tiny, tiny hermit crabs, like dime-sized. Because I started seeing they were all moving. and that was like, oh my gosh, look at all these things that I would have missed if I wasn't looking, if I was just trying to see everything rather than look at the little details that were going on. And that was awesome.
The life-changing trip did a lot for her, not only in photography, but in her personal life as well.
And it really made me appreciate everything that I had, rather than lamenting over the things that I had lost. And it's just been getting better ever since. Like there's no question that trip was a catalyst in me turning myself around and feeling happy with myself and not just living. And I think my kids have benefited from that.
Her return also brought a change in numerous things in everyday life.
I've put myself more into the photography world as I chose to leave the veterinary profession after 15 years on this trip I was offered a job in another completely different aspect of life, which is in an amazing hair salon. And I decided, you know what, that's it, I'm going for it, I'm gonna do it. So I left the vet profession and I'm working in the salon and I'm focusing on my photography.
Even her clients recognize the change.
She's grown so much in her personal life that affects and flows into her photography, and it just has made her so much better at every aspect of her life.
Life is full of unexpected surprises, but stories like Clarissa's are a testament to the willpower one individual can have to change the course of their life for the better. From Mediaplex News, I'm Katie Panasic.